That is in the hands of others. And we must be prepared for economic and kingdom conflict. You know, they say the World War II guys were the best generation. Well, those who fought every war since then were the best of their generation. They went, they served, they sacrificed, and they fought like titans. They were noble.
Okay, okay, okay.
Most of us have barely heard of the place before.
Okay,
I may not know much about Vietnam, but communism is something else. Growing up being Redskins in the 50s, we've all heard about the horrible things that happen in communist countries.
Use this time for some target practice. The real thing's coming. Enemy soldier incoming. Target down.
Okay, 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 okay. Got to see.
Prep time's over. Now you deploy to the war zone.
Okay, okay.
Hard to imagine how something on the other side of the world could really
Okay, got the whole team thing. Okay, got the whole team thing.
Resurgence. Survive and your team can redeploy. Eliminate.
Come on, guys. Come on.
Well, you're supposed to watch what you're doing. Well, what am I supposed to do? Papa told you to watch.
He's not gonna kiss it and make it better either, boy.
Well done. Back in the fight. You're getting another chance. Weapons free.
That was one funny fail. That was one funny fail. Oh my gosh. Okay, okay, bro. No. Okay, can y'all hear me? Hello, hello, hello.
Enemy destroyed. Use your tac map to hunt down the rest of the team.
The first time I came out here, it was almost hard to believe this new landscape. Really, you know, kids. thousands of enemy infiltrators.
Okay. Why
The
does
South Vietnamese counterparts are
I'm back on station. You're redeploying.
they've been fighting and dying to jump problems. It's not really stopping from being calm, taking over the
You have reinforcements inbound.
24-year-old Lieutenant Bobby Wood. He served as a military advisor to South Vietnam's army. Our orders are to accompany the army units to secure sites where a field operation.
Your squad made it to the safe zone. Gas is moving. Your squad mate's back on station. Good work. Ammo here.
yeah.
You have reinforcements inbound. Your squad mate went AWOL. Resurgence time have reduced.
Vietcong soldiers who control nearly half of the South Vietnamese countryside. Reinforcements from the north. The Vietcong were farmers by day and fighters by night. They were all
SDR, ready for launch.
both the Vietcong and the North Vietnamese who developed a combat resolution as a declaration of war.
Time to fly 5 seconds.
And they intended to fight.
Enemy UAV overhead. Friendly loadout drops on the way. Back in the fight. Get ready. You're redeploying.
That is he. Bad. Bo asleep. Bo.
Back in the fight.
What's he doing?
Get your revenge.
What the fuck? Missed it.
Parts remain in operation. Hunt them down. It's all on you. Stay alive. Your squad to redeploy.
To the round!
Your squad mate's back on station. Good work.
I know, right?
Your squad's in the safe zone. You've got gas moving in.
Okay.
I had never been to war. In fact, I didn't understand what war was all about. So, obviously,
Standing by.
very
1-1 requesting recon at this time.
but everybody thought in the back of their mind
Enemy dropping into the AO.
it would take long for us to kill with our muscle power and things that we got to straighten out on training things. The enemy was easy. They weren't able to sustain themselves.
TACOM, we're flying on cue. UAV returning to tank.
Changing mags!
Get a UAV on grid.
Sorry.
I had to hang up into my phone.
I'm back on station. Go get after it. Fire sale active. Buy station prices have been reduced. Redeployed. Well done. Target down. Marking the rest of them. Incoming LVPR. Loading new man. Resurgence is about to be. Make it count. Reinforcing officers. All squad mates are in the safe zone. Gas is closing in.
Head for my waypoint.
These guys never even learned Vietnam before they got here.
Hostile UAV in the area. Enemy UAV overhead. Reloading! Fire sales over. Adjusting pricing. Enemy UAV is online.
Got him.
Resurgence has been deactivated. This is the end game. Supply crates are restocked. Advise you to load up now.
These guys are hanging out each other's switches, screwing around, all seems to be so. It's more like a college dorm room than barracks.
Back in the fight! Turning you to the front. Learn this.
Adder requesting LVBR.
Look around! Move to the safe zone. You're losing ground. Move it.
Back in the States to see it. I think it's kind of cool. That's what makes me feel like Ernie Pyle. You want to fuel the surf for a recording of the broadside view.
My phone. Something happened.
Requesting recon above.
I wanted to do it the same way.
The top 5. 5 squads still operational in the AO.
Job done to be home in a couple of months. Well, for my sake, Bill doesn't have too or any chance to write about some real action.
Enemy UAV overhead. 3 squads left in the war zone. Stay alert. The safe zone is a long way from the location. Move like you mean it.
Bringing in recon.
Reinforcing offer.
Enemy movement. Cancel that. Enemy UAV is online.
Y'all think you can win this for me?
Reinforcing armor. Eyes on enemy.
Gas is inbound. Next time we'll take that victory. Valiant effort. Keep your head up and return to base for debrief.
Oh, stop.
Sometimes we'd be going back to the same areas, hitting the same targets repeatedly, and not understanding why we were being targeted into the same areas over and over. And it dawned upon us that this war was not going to be over in a short few months.
Oh. That damn tower. Back up there.
1965.
We're supposed to go.
Needed comments for the car.
Hey.
From the U.S. Embassy.
You didn't tell us when back up here the way it was. Get your hands up.
With South Vietnam nearing collapse, the U.S. operations in Vietnam, Colonel Williams warned it's a momentous request. The acts of the defense. For the first time, its U.S. ground troops to seek out the enemy and drive them out of the South. On July 28th, 1965, in a press conference televised to the nation, Johnson announces his decision.
What no what you need? You need just mounting aggression. You can show it. And we will meet here needs. Search out Chinese train. 75 hours. If you make it necessary, we increase our active fighting forces by raising them up for grabs from 17,000 over a period of time to 35,000 per month.
That's good.
50,000 American soldiers in the Soviet War.
Get it out. Get it out.
20,000 more
Uh,
Get out.
are about to get more.
Look out, there's a blue trap back there. Get out of there. Don't need to get back there. Blue trap on you.
This going out was the first captain. One of the replacement air mobile assault units. After months of fighting small, frustrating skirmishes, U.S. forces were preparing to launch their first major assault against 200 North Vietnamese soldiers using an experimental tactic, air mobility. Units, the first cavalry is designed to insert soldiers into combat using helicopters. For this encounter, they will make their first attempt at inserting a force of 50 Americans. 200 being prepare for battle. A potentially serious problem weighs on the mind of the spot running a small clearing designated landing for the X-ray. Its job is its close proximity to the enemy. It is too small, however, to land more than 8 helicopters at a time. With each chopper able to carry only about 6 men, it will take several hours to get all 450 soldiers on ground. Any commander's fear in a case like that, you land and you've only got a few of your troops, less than 100, and the enemy comes on. You're fine. If you go down, the LZs put landslides closed, and whoever dies, dies. At 10:19 a.m., Firebase Falcon, 500 and some vicious barrage artillery to the enemy positions. Once we clear the LZ, so the helicopters can land safely. At 10:35 a.m., the first U.S. choppers lift off, then begin the 13-minute flight to the landing zone. Miles outside of LZ X-ray, the choppers drop the treetop. Exploding U.S. boys. The barrage is intricately timed to stop just 1 minute before the soldiers hit. If the timing is off by even a few seconds, they will risk being hit with their own artillery. I was staying close to the tent where the radios
Gave headquarters. So here, if anything started happening. Bravo companies in the area around the LC. So far, almost 5. Already the choppers are delivering the second wave of soldiers. Everything seems to be going quite well. Until 11:15 a.m. Bravo's first routine captures a single war interrogation. At 11:20, President there are 3 full battalions of North Vietnamese soldiers on the mountain. Not very much. So believe 3 battalions, that's almost 1,600 soldiers. No one can believe what we're hearing. We've got less than 200 men around
Within minutes, the U.S. and Vietnamese
desperately attempt to keep the Vietnamese from overrunning the LC. Pilots of the first cavalry continued to ferry the way during 40 or 50 men, and then a vicious things battle always cannot teach you, and that is through horrendous moments of battle. Artillery shells exploded. It just not me. Almost death. After nearly 8 hours, casualties are not the supplies are running low. Fast approaching. All further landings will be called. The 50 battered Americans are on their own. They'll have to survive that night in the face of
Last night, the enemy launched several small attacks against our lines. The dead still lay where they were killed.
Check weapons and gear. We're holding the deployment. Enemy soldier incoming. Playtime's over. Stand by for deployment.
a few yards in front of them.
I'll see you.
Needles. Stop. Dad, tell Needles to stop.
Resurgence. Stay alive till time expires. 4 points of work. Half capital. Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies. I'm reloading. Hostile UAV in the area. Enemy UAV overhead.
Where we were sitting. And I just fell over on my belly and just landed this thing.
Don't kill, don't kill, don't kill.
I'm back again. Another chance. Weapons free.
It's okay.
Enemy dropping into the AO. Gas moving in.
Get up, Pip. Come on.
Taking effective fire! Enemy soldier incoming. Loadout drop headed your way.
Demolition guys. They were right in the path.
25 remaining.
And scream. So, get this man. And reach down. On his ankles, just feel them. I can feel the ankle bone in the palm of my hands. We carried him over to where the wounded were.
I'm back on stand by for redeployment.
Baby. He died 2 days later. That boy is my nightmare.
Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies. You're losing ground. Move it. Enemy down.
Okay, hold on.
Taking effective fire. Back in the fight. Back on station. Go get after it. UAV is online.
Italian surgeon, Captain Clare, performs an emergency tracheotomy.
Fire sale is active. Buy station prices are jumping.
A few yards away is Living Home, far away from that. Never left his post in one of the M60s and kept the 742 alive. Just one of the most dedicated soldiers I've ever seen.
Resurgence window is ending. Watch the
Get in here!
enemy down! Reloading!
Feed him on these toys I here. No, leave him alone!
Enemy soldier incoming. Gas is moving. Changing max! Fire sale's done. Prices are back to normal.
I've seen myself move quickly enough. It's not how far we'll climb. It's much pushing the 8 hours so you can protect his bodies. Even like himself is repeatedly. I don't have to remember to try.
Remain. You're almost done here. I'm reloading.
Their lives so that I might. They had sacrificed themselves for me and their buddies. While I was learning was that there are some events that are so overwhelming that you can't
Less than 10. The enemy took that one, but we'll get them back.
be controlled. You can't be hijacked. Simple as that. You see it, you live it, you experience it.
Following 2 days, additional battles will be fought in Contract 9, engaging even more dedicated soldiers. By the time the fighting ends, a total of 234 Americans went dead. With enemy deaths estimated at nearly 3,000, U.S. commanders come up with a new strategy. A lopsided 12-to-1 kill ratio convinces them that in this war without a front, body count will be the measure of success. At a helicopter, which is proven capable of operating an instant-intense battle, looking at more than whether they execute this strategy. U.S. commanders believe they have found the blueprint for total victory. U.S. victory over the Vietnamese beyond that value measured by tooth ratio. Advances U.S. managers may implement a new strategy for research and destroy. The plan is brutally simple. Search out the enemy in South Vietnam and then destroy them in the short miles. First time in U.S. military history, during a as U.S. and South Vietnamese forces battled through the vast countryside and Normandy rivers, they quickly discovered that the enemy has a plan thereof. The Vietnam meticulously prepared plans of thousands of rifles and booby traps. They had hundreds of miles of tunnels to move soldiers and weapons and large supplies of tanks. And perhaps worst of all, they hide in plain sight, indistinguishable with the scientific civilians. Preparing for the war, U.S. leaders realized they needed an enormous number of boots on the ground. 1966 becomes the year of escalation.
Today's lesson? Survival of the fittest.
San Bernardino Valley, Barry Roma was feeling the effects of the growing war.
And this sort of what I've been thinking about, thinking about it, I leave in the war, and I have to get material and go and fight. Really, my principle.
Okay. Okay.
He said, I want you to go. I said, well, you said, your brother and I went to war to fight.
Okay. Okay.
Ruck up. You're headed to
All
the
you're
war
going to
zone.
do is go to
The 28-year-old Charles Brown has, even after serving 8 years in the peacetime army. System.
Resurgence. Survive the countdown to early redeployment. Your kills will be up.
immediate. Well, this take effect on you. Remember, I had been real home. Good 8 years. Nothing to talk about. Come back. Nothing experience. But it had
Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
there's certain things to do and how you do it.
Reloading.
Actually, combat is the only way this is going to be tested. Brown is now second in command with platoon of 30 men with the 173rd Airborne Brigade, speaking to obtain in products about Vietcong stronghold. Not my guys, race like the dogs. Boys feel that sit like a talk like that.
Enemies dropping into the AO.
Give me a sec.
Enemy deployed. Advanced UAV.
You got yeah, you ain't taking my beer. I ain't giving you no more. Drink your money.
Constant threat of ambushes and booby traps.
You should
Any
use that.
signs of the other system.
That's the worst.
Changing mags.
Until the rain man fall back again, somebody can search fast. Come on, God, bitch. We can't just skip it. So, this is the job. They better buckle down and get it done.
Incoming.
That's right. That's they quickly realize it's an abandoned Vietcong encampment. The VC has a sophisticated network of scouts and sympathizers who alert them to the Americans' presence, allowing them to choose when and where they want to fight. The best the Americans can do now is destroy any hidden enemy weapons or supplies they can find. I always tell these guys you gotta go slow. You gotta take your time on these things. And none of them listen to me. All they want to do is get done and get back again. This one guy, he thinks he's been out here so long he knows everything there is to know. So what does he do? Instead of him going down to the right slow, you see him hit things in. Leave this sand. We'll do the release. Movie trap.
Back in the AO.
Time for vengeance. You're redeploying.
Movie trap blasts through this Medevac chopper is en route to take them to one of the 18 military hospitals.
Enemies dropping into the AO.
Back on mission.
Returning you to the front. Earn this.
Changing mags.
You made the top 25. Well done. Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Reloading.
Gas is inbound.
It's not like the movies where you go out in the field and then that evening you're back at base camp drinking beer or smoking dope. We would go out 30, 35, 40 days at a time, 24/7.
July of 1967, 19-year-old Second Lieutenant Barry Romo arrives in Vietnam. He replaces a platoon leader who was critically wounded by a landmine during a search and destroy operation. Now, Romo is in Quang Nam province, 300 miles north of where Charles Brown was wounded.
Oh, cut it out.
Leading his platoon of approximately 30
Enemy
men
dropping
in a
into
civil
the AO.
mission with similar dangers.
It's the not knowing that gets to you. Feeling that you're never safe anywhere at any time. Gunfire flying everywhere.
Fire sale active. Buy station prices have been reduced.
Switching mags.
I start screaming at my men to get down and pull me the next corner. Latin was yelling and shooting. And then I realized one of my squads got stuck and could not see the enemy. They get hit from both directions.
Changing mags.
So I yelled
Surgeons are about to
I'm
end.
not
Make
full
it
of
count.
stress and I can't even respond.
Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
They're all in it. And every man is badly wounded. And two wounded men get. And one of my men
Hostile UAV in the area. Gas is closing in.
and innocent
Reloading.
science were jellified. And they said,
The enemy lost track.
Five
Down
of
there.
them.
Many guys just along left taking too much fire. I scream to the radio and I tell them, I'm going to stand up in the middle of this damn field. You better get in here. Get my men out.
Fire sale's over. Just in crisis. Enemy soldiers incoming.
Another corpse. Switching mags.
Resurgence has been deactivated. This is the end game.
And that's finally over. We get back to the commander said I'm Virginia for Bronze Stars. In my mind, I could only picture Bronze Stars when they did it. And it didn't seem right.
10 remain.
It didn't seem that people should die for me to get them out.
Enemy UAV is online. Only 10 were there. We lost that one, but we'll get a W
Oh
next.
yeah.
As U.S. losses begin to mount,
Oh.
President Johnson reminds the nation that the war is not only not stopping this spread, there is an even greater cause worth fighting for in Vietnam. By the summer of 1967, the United States is sending more than $500 million in aid to stop Vietnam. More than 1.5 million children are attending hundreds of new schools. And for the first time, over 2,000 Army students and police are receiving modern medical care.
Move. No. Dad.
Sit down.
But I guess that's the price you pay for falling off the military.
Anne Purcell married Ben, a career military officer, in 1951. After 16 years of marriage, 5 children, and many moves, they are living in Boonville, Missouri, where he is stationed as a colonel.
Ben and I both know he'll be going to Vietnam sooner or later. So we figure if he volunteers out here, his choices to the family have choices to where they stayed, and we would stay in Boonville because it was already like home, having lived there 4 years. I dreaded seeing him go, but I knew that was his duty. So I just accepted it that way. Right before we leave to see Ben off, he surprises me with a pair of volleyball.
Put it back.
So we can record tapes and mail them back and forth.
Dad, tell him to put it back.
It's the airport. It's been one last case. Tell him he better try out his recorder as soon as he gets there. And let me know that everything's okay.
Purcell is about to win. It's not his plan.
Go!
Soldiers at a time. Vietnamese and
Come
Vietnam
here.
were elusive.
Come here.
To lock down for near the end of 1967, U.S. forces located 6,000 Vietnamese soldiers near the American base at having 22 armies. More than 6,500 U.S. and South Vietnamese soldiers.
Come here.
This aircraft is the U.S. Arsenal, the P-52 bomber, deployed to the region. To unleash nearly 6 tons of high explosives. They could run through the smoke. This clash with the NBA since the Valley Valley. Yes. Shaking like so.
Come here. Little dunkhead. You gotta get up. Welcome. No, I'm not having one on this.
So fast, way on the kill. Seal jumps on the radio and tells me that Brown stayed out of the building. Then he turned to me and instructed me to take the place and to tune in to see what was going on. Knowing that I mean, what I we need from the place of this spring over here. After 3 weeks of fighting, U.S. and South Vietnamese forces have stopped the enemy and destroyed the American base. 6,000 enemy soldiers survived. An estimated 600 were killed.
Hello.
Prohibits U.S. government troops from crossing the border. It is stopping the enemy before they escape. The Americans give chase.
Use this time for some target practice. Real things coming through. Enemies are dropping into the area.
Loading fresh mag.
Enemy soldier incoming.
U.S. soldiers.
What did you do?
875
Red light over. Now you deploy your survival.
Okay, I can get a subscriber.
You want a stepmom? So you don't want no stepmom? Hey, you want a stepmom? So you don't want no stepmom? Well, right. Just want a stepmom? What? So you don't want no stepmom? Is that a stepmom?
Chips away from me.
Get ready. Redeploy.
There. Gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Feel great.
Here. There. Gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Feel great.
Go right there. Alright, we'll go right there.
Here.
There. Gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Feel great.
There you go.
Alright,
There you go. That's how you do it.
gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Feel great.
Go right there.
Go.
Here.
Gotta go right there.
UAV in the area.
Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Feel great.
Go right there. Alright, we'll go right there.
Enemy UAV overhead.
Gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Feel great.
Go right there. Gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Enemy UAV is online.
Right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel? Gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel? Right there. Right there. Gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Enemy UAV overhead.
Right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Alert the ground. Moving.
2-day break. After being over the field for 30 straight days. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
I guess that's still one of the crazy things I didn't know.
Gotta go right there.
They're freaking out.
Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you feel?
Ah, get in here.
Next thing you know, they fly into your area.
Get in here.
Gotta go right there.
Go, get in here.
Hostile UAV in the area.
Get in here.
Gotta go right there. Alright, Grady. Baby, how do you
Enemy dropping into the AO. You're getting another shot. Weapons free. Got 10 squads active in the field.
Did you know that if you wash your cat with a wet toothbrush, it reminds them of their mother?
You got my boots. You got my hat.
So you see when you go jump there behind and hurt yourself.
Lieutenant Barry. Civilian As a result, the Americans cannot tell friend from foe.
We're told the VC threaten these people with their lives unless they help them. So you gotta figure it's not really their fault.
you know you miss Rico.
We find a bunch of
Hello?
Saturn and some villagers kicking things.
Yes, you do.
But feel like they're the
Then you know you miss
reason.
Rico. Yeah, my Rico.
I mean, this is
Yes,
supposed
you
to be
do.
the people we're here to
Then
help.
you know you miss
Only
Rico.
it seems like they
Yeah, my Rico.
Hello, hello, hello.
And you know you
Falcon.
Yeah, my Rico.
Right, because there's a line.
Yes.
Don't go over to the stage. Unless you should use
Weapons and gear. We're holding the
The middle, back in by that wall, between the legs, 360 behind the back, over the first, just in the nick of time. Unbelievable trickery. And to get this thing, what you're getting from that wall, almost feels like it's been a video game.
enemies are dropping into the area. Which way, guy?
Captain Emergency 05, the sound of the Mississippi.
Deployment to the war zone has been authorized.
Where we go? Where we going?
Vietnamese forces made several attempts to take the heavy line. At some point, the civilians and
Oh!
Okay, y'all.
On day 9 of fishing with whatever you guys tell me to use, we got a ground steak, baby. The top one is safe. We're gonna throw it around and see if we can catch a fish. Let me know in the comment section down below. I want you to fish with next. Listen.
Whoa, you didn't touch me.
If you're gonna catch it, if you see this bush, you're gonna enter in it like so. And now there's gonna be a little parkour area from what I understand. And if you get to the end, oh my gosh. Okay, that was like, oh, I didn't even realize that's a decoy. Okay, and now you want to. I'll do that. Also, if you're gonna have to catch it, if you see this bush, you're gonna enter in it like so. And now there's gonna be a little parkour area from what I understand. And if you get to the end. Dang, that was an exciting.
Get ready. You're redeploying.
You know, you want to freeform with the barrel, dude. Also, if you're gonna just, if you see what's an enemy, you're gonna enter in it like so. And it's gonna be a little parkour area and you understand. And get to the end. Oh, I didn't even realize that was a decoy.
fuck told you on that chair.
Back in the air. You're getting another
30
shot.
feet off the chair.
Your squad mate is redeployed. Well done.
Hostile armor broken.
Get out of here. Come here. Get out of here. Not a place to say.
Reloading. Slow
Back
down,
on mission.
your way.
Incoming shot.
Hostile UAV in the area.
Inserting additional armor. Switching to medic. Back in the air.
Stand by for redeployment. Enemy soldier incoming. Enemy UAV is online. Enemy dropping into the AR. Your squad mate is redeployed. Well done.
Setting rally point.
pops up to the sky. Her light flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle pops up to the sky. Her light is flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle pops up to the sky. Her light is flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle chrome pops up to the sky. All her lights flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle chrome pops up to the sky. All her lights flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle chrome pops up to the sky. All her lights flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle chrome pops up to the sky. All her lights flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle chrome pops up to the sky. All her lights flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle chrome pops up to the sky. All her lights flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle chrome pops up to the sky. All her lights flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa on a jaw. But it's a beetle with an eagle chrome pops up to the sky. All her lights flashing like it thinks it's 10 feet wide. Four cylinders wheezing like a grandpa.
Only 4 remain. Finish the job. 5 squads still operational in the AO. You have reinforcements inbound.
Eyes on enemy. Scratch that.
Get supply drop.
Did you do it? All right.
Move to the safe zone. You're losing ground. Move it. Secure the supply boxes. Locations are marked on your tag map.
Years old.
You're in the top 3. Don't let up.
Really?
now.
Just got out of the military and got the trouble.
News that President Donald Trump is expecting a ceasefire sometime next week. Also developing a revenge.
Yeah. That's a bad still trying to
Senior American officials last week now get all out pressure and push to get a ceasefire and hostage deal secured between Israel and Hamas. It's the third time
Lost eyes on the
Prime
objective.
Minister
Contract
to the White House. Papers from since he's appointed in January.
Hostile shooter. Never mind.
Be advised. You still have squad mates outside the safe zone. Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies.
Incoming shot. Inserting additional armor. I'm hit. Someone. Fire. I'm up.
You're in the last group now. Finish it. You were 1 of 5 remaining.
There's long guns and there's long guns.
It's a beetle with an eagle chrome.
Meanwhile, down with it's wax on the oh, hell. Oh, there's a bag of chicken nuggets. That's the chicken nuggets for the food. But don't feed them junk now. Oh, yeah, there'll be no good.
Hey, Bobo. Right. Hey, look, Dad, it's flat.
We're headed to the war zone.
Dingy, ready to switch to Travis.
Going home.
Tell me to bring me here.
Hey, here. Let's get ready to boom boom. Yeah, I got colors.
My mom was before me. She had to come back at break time. What's the matter?
Let me take all this stuff out of the car and I'll be right back.
I mean, you can't not have that.
You can't take it home. We'll break it.
What is it to break it?
Benji, bring the switch here.
You pull your pants again.
Survive to redeploy fallen teammates. Kill to bring them back home.
Just good.
Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies. Enemies destroyed. Hunt down the rest of them.
Back in the AO.
Work to see if your outpost survives.
What? Come on. Get up and
Top 10. We've got 10 squads active in the field.
They know you can It's already stronger than me.
Starts flying. Start.
You know that?
So what's happening? The way that they're not here with us is later to this moment. So they know what's happening. So you get an idea. Oh, if there's just an underground, it's not any worse.
Yeah, keep your shoes on. Bring your shoes. One to verify those.
Suspect is down.
You can't take the phone home with you.
We gotta do this every time you're up here.
Then you'll lose it.
Yeah, because it is hard to find crap down there.
Then you won't have enough to. You won't have to be able to watch fighting again.
Oh, I got that shelf too.
Oh, this is, yeah, that's too big for anything we got. I was thinking it'd make a good bed frame, put a piece of plywood on top of it. Screw it down with a frame, that'd make a good bed frame. But right now, I can't afford a piece.
I can't either. Say bye.
Bye. All right, we'll see you later.
Check your gear and weapons.
Kill, kill, kill.
Singing the songs of faith and inspiration for the gospel council.
Wait time, Stand by for deployment to the war zone.
Enemy grenade.
I believe
NBC6, first on scene of Miami police officer busted a police with flagging. Julie May spoke with undercover officers who executed a search warrant and rape just hours ago during the the chest behind here, you can actually see police officers remain on scene conducting this investigation. It's called Agent Miami Medical Clinic, and this is where they tell us that the investigation.
Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies. Mark remaining operators from that squad. Hunt them down.
U.S. President Donald Trump to it, the so-called aggregated Alcatraz, the remote migrant detention center in Florida, as he cracks down on illegal immigration.
Back on mission. Returning you to the front. Earn this.
for Donald Trump today that some ground crew, 37 tactical with each kind of indulge in abstract consideration to fit through all the things. Within a few months, this pilot would be dropping bombs in the heart of the most heavily defended city in the world, Baghdad.
Back in the air.
You're getting another chance. Weapons free.
Up near the particularly in the left, which has no guns and no radar. Your highest in desperation.
Enemies dropping into the AR. Hostile UAV in the area.
Incoming shot! Need a medic. Little help! Back on
Get
mission.
ready. You're redeploying. 10 remain. You're almost done here. Got 10 squads active in the field.
Back in the AO.
Returning you to the front. Earn this.
American history, award assigned by railroad, telegraph, and terrifying new
Your squad mate is redeploying. Well done. Squad mate's back on station. Good work.
about a series of against
Friendly
U.S.
loadout
Armed
drops on the way.
Forces. Since 1916,
Found a
over
weapon.
130 service members have been executed under military law. These revenge crimes were so brutal they shocked not just the military, but the entire country. So, in today's video, we're taking a closer look at the men currently on military death row. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll get right into it. Hassan Karim Akbar. On March the 23rd, 2003.
Back on mission.
Time for vengeance. You're redeploying.
U.S. invasion of Iraq. Soldiers from the 101st Airborne Division were stationed at Camp Pennsylvania in Kuwait. Tension was high. Everyone knew the days ahead would be dangerous, but no one expected that the first deadly attack would come from one of their own. That soldier was Sergeant Hassan Karim Akbar, a member of the 326th Engineer Battalion. Even before the attack, Akbar already raised concerns about his fears and experience. He described himself as angry and too long. He didn't take authority well, and it recently
Okay. This is Mama.
increasingly isolated. But Akbar's background didn't follow a typical path into the military. He was born Mark Fidel Coles in Los Angeles in 1971. After his father converted to Islam while in prison, Akbar was raised Muslim. Academically, he showed real promise. He earned degrees in both aeronautical and mechanical engineering from UC Davis. But despite that, financial struggles weighed him down. Eventually, looking for structure and opportunity, he joined the Army. But instead of finding stability, his military career became marked by tension, poor performance, and disciplinary problems. Behind the scenes, Akbar was also keeping a personal journal. No one saw it at the time. In one disturbing entry dated February 4th, 2003, just weeks before the attack. Being in the Army is the same thing. You have to make a choice very soon on who to kill. In another entry, he wrote, I'm going to try and kill as many of them as possible.
Back on mission.
Stand by for redeployment.
Hostile shooter. Forget it. Loot available here.
Then, in the early hours of March 23rd, just before 2 a.m., the power at Camp Pennsylvania suddenly went. Someone had sabotaged the jet,
Enemy destroyed.
throwing the entire
Use your
base
map
into
to hunt down the
darkness.
rest of them.
Most of the soldiers were asleep in their tents, unaware that danger was already moving toward them. Akbar, armed with 4 M67
Hostile
Bragg
UAV in the area.
and an M1
Target down.
began
Marking the rest of
quietly
them.
making its way through the camp. What happened next was
Fire
pure
sale
chaos.
active. Buy station prices
Akbar
have been
pulled the
reduced.
pins on his grenades and threw them into 3 separate tents filled
Enemy
with sleeping
UAV overhead.
soldiers. Then, as people scrambled to escape the blasts, he opened fire.
Enemy
The camp
UAV is
erupted in
online.
confusion. Explosions shook the tents. Flames spread past them, and soldiers shouted and dove for cover. By the time it was over, 2 officers were dead.
TACOM,
Captain
requesting
Christopher
recon
Simon,
overhead.
an intelligence officer, shot
Insurgence window is ending. Watch
Major
your
Gregory
six.
Stone, a 40-year-old member of the Idaho Air National Guard, died from 83 shrapnel wounds. 14 other soldiers were seriously wounded, some critically. Akbar and his
Good
witness
kill.
due
Marking the
taken
rest of
into
that squad on
custody.
your tac map.
A
Get
little over
hunt.
2 years later, in
You have
April
reinforcements
2005,
inbound.
Akbar stood trial in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. The jury, made up of officers and senior non-commissioned officers, heard the prosecution's case. They pointed to the journal entries, the sabotage generator, the stolen grenades. It all painted a clear picture of premeditation.
Never mind.
Meanwhile,
Waypoint marked. Forget,
Akbar's
never mind.
defense team argued he had been suffering from mental illness for years. They described the signs of paranoia, sleep disorders, and irrational behavior dating back to his teenage years. They said he wasn't capable of making sound decisions and asked the jury to consider his mental health. But Akbar didn't have his own case.
Hostile shooter.
During the
Mark the
trial,
target
he
location.
smuggled a sharp object out of the conference room and stabbed a military police officer, reinforcing the
This is the way I
prosecution's
die.
claims to
Enemy
his
precision
statements.
airstrike. Find cover.
After just 7 hours of deliberation,
Not done
the
yet.
jury found him guilty of 2 counts of premeditated murder
Squad mates
and
redeployed. Well done.
premeditated murder.
Be advised,
One week later,
insurgence is no
on
longer
his
active.
34th
This is for
birthday,
keeps.
Hassan Karim Akbar was sentenced to death. He became the first American soldier since the Vietnam War to be sentenced to death for killing fellow troops. Today, Akbar remains on military death row at the U.S. disciplinary barracks in Fort Leavenworth, Texas. His execution would require a sitting president to approve it, something that hasn't happened in more than 60 years. More than 2 decades have passed since that horrific night at Camp Pennsylvania.
Only 4 left.
But for many in the military community, the memory of what happened still lingers. It's a chilling reminder that the war, threats can sometimes come from the last place you'd expect. Timothy B. Ennis.
Come on, buy me
In
back.
May 1985, a quiet neighborhood near Fort Bragg, North Carolina, became the scene of a horrifying triple murder.
Changing
What
mag.
followed would turn into one of the most unusual legal battles in American history. At the time, Air Force Captain Gary Eastburn was away at training in Alabama. Back home, his wife
Come
Catherine,
on, buy me back.
played by Katie, was caring for their 3 daughters. Karen, and their youngest, 22-year-old Jen.
Next time we'll take that.
The family was preparing to move to England with Gary's new son.
Keep your head up and return to base.
As part of the preparations, Katie placed an ad. She was hoping to find a new home for their English son, a dog named Dixie. On May 7, 1985, 27-year-old Army Sergeant Timothy Ennis responded to the ad. He visited the Eastburn home, met Katie, and rescued the dog. From all accounts, the meeting was brief and uneventful. Then, just 4 days later, Gary's regular calls to his wife went unanswered. This was unusual and concerning. On May 12th, a worried neighbor, along with a local police officer, went to check on the Eastburn family. What they discovered inside the home was beyond tragic. Katie had been sexually assaulted and stabbed 15 times. Kara and Aaron were found murdered in their beds. Kara had suffered multiple stab wounds to the chest, while Aaron had been bludgeoned in the chest and back. Miraculously, the youngest child, Jana, was found alive in her crib, though she was severely dehydrated. Soon after, the investigation led police to Timothy Hennis. A key witness had reported seeing a tall white man in jeans and a black members-only jacket leaving the East Burns driveway early in the morning on May 10th. He was carrying a garbage bag. The description closely matched Hennis, and the witness later picked
Use
him
this
up.
time for some target practice.
As the investigation progressed, the evidence began to emerge. Katie's ATM card had been
Enemies are dropping into the
stories
area.
had been
Watch the
identified,
side.
withdrawing
They're down.
Hennis was reportedly behind on rent. The pieces were starting to come together. In 1986, Hennis was arrested and brought to trial. After about 10 hours of deliberation, the jury found him guilty of 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree sexual assault. He was sentenced to death and transferred to Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina. But this was not the end of the case. 2 years later, the North Carolina Supreme Court...
Okay, people. We need to unmute.
Hennis was granted a fair retrial. At the second trial in April 1988,
Unmute everybody, unmute.
aggressive strategy. They called out inconsistencies in witness testimony and raised doubts about the physical evidence. After 3 weeks of arguments and 2 days of jury deliberation, Hennis was acquitted of all charges. Once facing execution, he went down in court and remand. Hennis rejoined the army. He went on to serve quietly and eventually retired honorably in 2004. For the next 16 years, it seemed as though the case was closed for good. But in 2006, advancements in DNA technology brought the case back to life. Investigators were able to test the semen samples that had been collected from Katie Eastburn's body, but had not been analyzable back in the 1980s. Results were staggering. DNA matched Timothy Hennis and was determined to be 1.2 quadrillion times more likely to have come from him than anyone else. Despite this revelation, civilian authorities did not retry him. Double jeopardy laws protected him from being tried again in a civilian court. But then, military prosecutors found a way forward. With Uniform Code of Military Justice,
Inserting additional
they
armor.
recalled Hennis to active duty. This move placed him back under military jurisdiction and allowed for a new court-martial. In 2010, 25 years after the murders, Hennis stood trial.
Enemies dropping into the AO.
This time before a military jury in Fort Bragg. Prosecutors presented the DNA evidence and laid out their case in detail. The evidence proved overwhelming. The jury found him guilty of 3 counts of premeditated murder. On April 15, 2000, Hennis was sentenced to death. He was demoted
Good
to the
kill.
lowest
Marking
military
the rest of that squad on your
is
tag map.
honorably
Get
discharged
hunting.
and sent to death row at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas.
Squad
To
back
await
on station.
execution.
We've located the rest of them.
Inserting additional armor.
Enemy soldier incoming.
Take care. Who's triple X? Donald Pollitt Tesla. On November 5th, 2009, born in Texas, became the site of one of the deadliest mass shootings to ever occur in the U.S. military base. Much like the Salem decades earlier, the attacker wasn't an outsider.
Don't.
Back, he was a psychiatrist who was supposed to be helping troops.
Oh.
Where's that at? Entered the Soldier Readiness Processing Center where troops were undergoing medical evaluations before deploying overseas.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
Back in the AO.
Hey, Dad. I'm gonna move this one. I'm gonna move this and set that right there. Right here. I'm just gonna set that right there.
You've got a loadout drop inbound.
Success.
Squad mate is redeploying. Well done. You're back on station. Go get off.
System is American. Constructed emotion when treating soldiers who have been wounded in combat. In one case, even the presentation that appeared to justify suicide bombers, raising alarms about the
You have
supervisors.
reinforcements inbound.
Despite these concerns, Hassan continued to climb the ranks. Then, in September 2001, he received word that he would soon be deported to Afghanistan. That news hit him hard. Not long after, he began exchanging emails with Anwar al-Awlaki, a radical preacher known for promoting terrorism. The FBI was aware of these emails when they concluded that Hassan was conducting research for a professional project about Muslim American soldiers. In hindsight, the signs were much more ominous. Just 2 days before the shooting, Hassan began giving away his personal belongings to his neighbors, which many later viewed as a clear warning of someone planning a fight. Irreversible.
Hostile UAV in the area.
Then came the attack. What unfolded at Fort Hood was pure chaos.
Dad, I quit Fortnite, by the way.
13 people had been
Dad.
killed, and 32
Do you hear me?
Officer Kimberly Munfie, one of the first
Enemies are
responders,
dropping into the
was
area.
injured
Watch
in
the
a
sky.
shootout with Hassan. There was another who ultimately brought Hassan down, shooting him several times and leaving him paralyzed from the waist down. In the aftermath, there was widespread debate over how the attack should be classified. Some government officials referred to it as workplace violence. However, a Senate report later described it as the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil since September 11th. Hassan's trial was unlike most. He chose to represent himself in court. In his opening statement, he confessed to the shooting and said he had switched sides, explaining that he viewed himself as fighting against American forces. The trial, he made little effort to defend his actions. The jury, made up of 13 military officers, found him guilty on all counts, including 13 charges of premeditated murder and 32 attempted premeditated murder. On August 28, 2013, Hassan was sentenced to death. When prosecutor Colonel Mike Mulligan summed up the military's position when he said,
Incoming shots!
his death is not his gift to God, it's his death to society.
Enemy soldier incoming.
Not now, I'll never be martyred. Today, Idol Muhammad Hassan remains on death row in the military prison Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. He has been stripped of his military rank and is now referred to simply as Inmate Hassan.
Starting additional armor.
But even in prison, confined to a wheelchair, Hassan has continued to express extremist views. At one point, he even wrote a letter to the leader of ISIS, requesting to become a citizen of the Islamic State.
Fire sale is active.
Ronald
Fire
Patrick
station
Brett,
prices are adjusted.
Fort Bragg,
Your squad mate's back on station.
is
Good
known for
work.
its tight-knit military
Primary
community,
objective
quiet
complete.
suburban
All
life.
targets eliminated.
But in the span of less than a year, between 1986 and 1987, that peace was broken. A wave of brutal attacks and murders shook the area, leaving both residents and military officials searching for answers. But unlike the last case we covered, where warning signs were hard to miss, this time the man responsible managed to fly under the radar.
Make it count.
His name was Ronald Patrick Gray, born on August 14, 1965. Just not the rest of life. By the time he joined the Army, he was just another name on the roster. He worked for traffic control in the 82nd Airborne Division. Behind that uniform, Gray was hiding something much darker. It all started on April 27, 1986.
You're losing ground.
Swift
Move.
Phillips was found murdered. At first, police thought it was caused by tragedy, just a random act of violence. That assumption didn't hold up at all. By December, Gray was struck again. He kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered 18-year-old Tammy Coates.
Fire failed start. Prices are back to normal.
Struck him again. His next victim was another 18-year-old Michael Moore by gunplay. Two people reported seeing Moore at Kmart with the man who later appeared as Gray. The following morning, the body was found just a block from the fall. Investigated.
Look at this, Dad. Dad. You can't even see.
I feel bad for freaking baby frogs. Oh, I better do that bathroom.
My mother did that. Well,
Just the hallways after attacking American recalled her cab using the name. The driver was 23-year-old Beverly Rose. She was set to pick him up at his address. Early the next morning, military police on patrol found her taxi abandoned in the edge of the woods. Parking the car, they found her assaulted multiple. She'd been stabbed 7 times. This evidence was undeniable. Gray's fingerprints were found inside the taxi. His fingerprints were unlimited and in his possession. Stations here Gray's foot following his arrest. They recognized him as her attacker. In 1988, Gray was tried in both civilian and military defense.
Oh, Dad. Look at that. Right? Over here where it's ripping fast. By the house.
Yeah. First convicted for murders, 1 attempted murder, and 8 Therefore, he was sentenced to death. For 20 years, nothing happened. Then, in 2008, President George W. Bush approved Gray's execution after a review by the Department of Justice. That decision made Gray the first U.S. service member since 1961 to be cleared for execution. Army Secretary Pete Gehring set the execution date for December 10, 2008. However, just weeks before the letter to judge granted a single execution, more time than executors. For years, those cases dragged on. In 2004, criminal appeals denied his request for relief. And in 2017, the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces in March 2025, Gray's last appeal. As of today, just like all the other soldiers we mentioned earlier, Ronald Patrick Gray is still being held in U.S. disciplinary barracks in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. He's been on military death row for more than 35 years, making him the longest serving death row inmate in the modern U.S. military justice system. The stories of these servicemen and others deep
You have reinforcements inbound. You're down one squad, mate. We'll get you redeployed faster.
What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So Trump's big
Enemy soldier
well, that is the actual
NCR awaiting target data.
has passed. I'll let you actually see.
Your squad mate's back on track.
We are learning more information about this address through Officer info over the weekend. According to the Tuscaloosa Sheriff's Office, people have been arrested and decided the best to stay because of the all of the storms that hit on Saturday. These Chim Lakes, Los Marinos, Wayne Sound Line, and Chapel Springs, but this was pretty events.
We've got 10 squads active
Absolutely,
in the field.
you can imagine just how chaotic this was. Thankfully, only one person suffered minor injuries and they retreated and we're told they're going to be okay. But I'm going to show you here several of those folks were towed here to the Tarpon Landing.
Robert Black stole what I tried on the gentleman. Robert Black didn't steal what I did my family.
In prison, baby tours are often viewed
One
with
more.
extreme disdain.
One
Freaking
more.
Isolation, danger. Their crimes provoke intense hatred, leading to
Yeah, they're already done it.
Here's what happens to baby killers in prison.
Yeah. Oh yeah, storm went out here.
Yeah, I can tell it's black. It's lightning here. It's close gas and going into the car closer.
It's lightning over here.
It is here. We were sitting down here, me and Savannah. I was teaching her how to do gas ago. And it lightning, and she's like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, we're starting to tell. I said, but you don't bring all that leather
Check your gear and weapons.
It is, Mom.
Enemy dropping into the AR.
It's we got almost a half a thing in that one that we washed the dogs in.
Stand by for deployment to the war zone.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about when it gets full of dumping it on Pepper. No, drowned his ass. It's gonna make them go off. Yeah. Already did the hallway in that. Already did the hallway. Yeah. It's lightning bad. It's lightning bad over here. Get your ass out of that car.
Alright, love you. Bye-bye. Alright, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Hope the car don't get struck.
Supply box is located. Move to secure.
You can see like the
One supply box down. 2 remain. Your squad mates redeployed. Well done.
In prison, justice has a way of finding those who hurt them. Survivors often live in fear, not of the law, but of the people they're locked up with.
Their final days are brutal, cold, and far from peaceful. No second chances, no soft ending, just the harsh reality of prison.
Your squad mate's back on station. Good work.
That one made me jump. Good lord.
I'll drive.
Was she still on there?
Incoming shots.
You have reinforcements
Yo.
inbound. Your squad mate is redeploying. Well done.
Nah, nah, nah.
I'll fly.
Let's take a closer look at how their last day really unfolded.
Okay. It's gonna close that.
Got gas moving in. Hostile airstrike incoming.
They just can't help but brag about it. This 70-year-old was serving a hefty 43-year sentence in Washington.
That hit something. Dad, go unplug your antenna.
Charges involving serious crimes against children, including first-degree offenses. The worst part of his crime, one of those victims
Is this a big one?
living in prison. What really pushed people to the edge was his faithless boasting of his crimes. Talk about an even flex. Enter another inmate convicted of stealing a police car who shared the same prison walls. This guy, let's call him Goldsby, had reached his breaking point listening to Hunter's disgusting tales day in and day out. But the story gets even darker. Goldsby realized that Bunker was the very person who had harmed his own sister. That was the last straw. Fueled by rage and a thirst for justice, Goldsby decided to take matters into his own hands. One day, in the prison's general area, he ambushed Bunker. Goldsby didn't hold back. He threw more than a dozen punches, landing blow after blow to Bunker's face and head. It was brutal, but in his mind, it was payback. Bunker's final moments were a harsh lesson in how some people's own words can seal their fate. Boasting about evil deeds might sound like a power move.
We lost the supply gas location. Contract paused.
But in prison, it's more like waving a red flag. Goldsby's actions sent a clear message.
Just in case. Just in case, too.
Now here's a law of justice for a trial user that took a Serbian prison in 2018. The man was jailed for hurting innocent children. Prison monsters don't get sympathy. The inmates made their own court. No words, no warnings. They chained him down, soaked him in gasoline, and set him ablaze. His screams echoed, but no one looked away. Was this justice served, or savagery unleashed? John Geoghegan.
Squad mate is
There are
redeployed.
bad
Well
days,
done.
and then there are John Geoghegan days. And in the twisted hierarchy of prison, child abusers don't sit at the bottom. They are the bottom. Scratch that. They're below it.
You have reinforcements inbound.
Just how low that goes. In 2015, he was serving time in a high-security prison in Shirley, Massachusetts, for abusing a 10-year-old boy and about 150 other kids, too. That number alone could drain the color from your face. But here's the kicker. Even though he was in protective custody, there was nothing protected about what was coming.
You've got time for another bounty. Get it done.
At 68, Geoghegan was frail, soft-spoken, and barely hanging on to his health. What he didn't know was that his neighbor Joseph Truce, 37-year-old with rage issues and a very personal sense of justice, was already writing his final chapter. Truce, who was allegedly part of a white supremacist group, had his own twisted moral code. And Geoghegan, he broke it. So what pushed Truce over the edge? According to him, Geoghegan was running his mouth about moving to South Africa to work with children yet. Then, as if that wasn't outrageous, Bruce claimed he started giving tips to other inmates. That was it. He spent a whole month planning the takedown like it was some kind of mission. And when the day came, he didn't hesitate. He strangled Gable right inside the prison cell. No dramatic music.
Damn. Frickin' ass white.
Child-related offenders. We're talking assaults, starvation, vandalized cells, and the kind of humiliation that doesn't make it to official.
That guy's freaking ass white.
Nelson Sanderson.
I got work to do.
Nelson Sanderson thought he could outrun justice like it was a slip. Spoiler, he couldn't. Convicted for horrific crimes against 2 children under 12, Sanderson was the kind of
You're getting another chance. Weapons free.
He realized the law was closing in back in July 2012. He didn't just hide, he went full James Bond, driving disappearing and running far from the reach of U.S. justice, and probably hoping he could blend in with some bad sunglasses and fake videos. That's longer than most reality TV shows last. But in 2016, the law came knocking, with U.S. Marshals ready to drag him out of unwanted luggage. Sanderson got deported back to Florida and ended up at Century Correctional Institution, where he started his new life with 2 life sentences. Not exactly the beach vacation he had in mind.
Nelson Sanderson guilty for less than 2 children.
Now, prison isn't exactly warm and fuzzy for folks like him. Sanderson could feel it. The stares, the cold silence, that eerie sense that he was always being watched, and not in a fun celebrity. During his trial, his wife told the court he was